Well,
So, Bea, I wanted to thank you for agreeing to this.
I hope I feel that. Hope I like it too.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to do is just capture, some of your life and and history, and talk about the ancestors, your family, and where they came from.
Let's see now. My grandparents. I only met one of them. I think.
Can we? Do you want to sit here, Dad, for a second?
My grandmother.
Let's just call them. Let's just open the space. Just hold hands.
Ouch.
Sorry. And you can hold Dad's hand.
Why do you hold hands?
Well, we're just gonna open the space.
Oh,
Don't ask, just do it.
I have to get rid of
No,
it.
that's all right.
So let's just close our eyes and focus on our breathing.
You mean want me to take a deep breath?
Just focus on the breathing.
In and out?
In and out through the nose.
I do that meditation.
Yeah, we're just quieting the mind. And opening a space and inviting whoever's present to come into the space. Creating a safe space. Thanking all the ancestors that have brought us here. With the intention of clearing any blocks that maybe are present in this lineage. So all spirits present and departed may be at peace. Thank you. Okay.
What was that, to relax me?
Just to create a space.
Oh,
Safe space. Because when you call in the ancestors, it has powerful effect.
well, I met I think it was my father's side of the family. My mother's, I don't think I met any of them.
Uh-huh.
What else you want to do?
Maybe you could just start where you were born.
Oh, I was born on the Lower East Side. You want to know the year?
Yes?
1912. June 12, 1912.
And where were you born?
At home, probably.
What street?
Oh, I don't know what street. It was the Lower East Side.
Okay.
Tenement building.
And who lived there at the time? Who lived there?
Who lived there? Oh, let's see now. I was the next to the eldest.
And who else was in the family?
My mother was the firstborn. Bernard.
Bernard.
Am I correct? Have you?
Bernard was the firstborn. In what year?
He was born 2 years earlier. No, yes, earlier than me, 10.
1910.
I was 12. And there were others.
And what was the date of the birth?
Bernard's, something.
March, something.
I haven't thought of it lately.
Could be March 26th, but I'm not sure.
March?
I think, yeah.
March 26th, perhaps?
You would probably know.
And you were born, what was your date of your birth?
The day of my birth?
Date.
You'd have to look it up and see when June 12th.
No, what date?
The date 1912.
June 12th.
June 12th.
And who was next born?
The next one was my sister, Rose. She was born 2 years after me. So 14.
1914.
Yeah. Then, let's see, there's Bernard, me, there's 5 of us.
Sophia.
And so there's Sophie and Lou. Lou was Sophie was the youngest. So the next one was
Lou.
Lou.
Born in what year?
And he was, I think, there was a lapse of 8 years between Lou and Sophie.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years younger. So let's see, we had 14. I have to think.
1922.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 1922.
And then Sophie was last?
She was the last. She was the baby. And she got all the attention. We didn't. You want
And
these comments?
yeah,
You do? What, are they recorded?
I'm recording it.
Oh, you're recording.
And who are your parents?
That was, my father was Sam, my mother was Ida, and she came from Europe. She came from, at the time, it was Russia, where she was born, but then it became Lithuania.
She came in what year?
Vilna, Lithuania.
What year did she come?
She came early on. Let's see, she came when I was, I knew it, but I have to think about it now.
It must be before 1910.
Yeah, it had to be before. It might have been 8.
Oh, 1908.
8.
And how did she meet your father?
I think she was introduced by another relative. No, she had an aunt who introduced her to somebody.
And when was she born? What year?
My father was Sam.
And what was her maiden name?
Her maiden name was, oh God, of course I know her. I know it and I have to think. Ida Rubin.
Ida Rubin from Vilna, Lithuania.
Yeah, Lithuania. And she spoke Russian though.
She spoke Russian.
Yeah. Can I make any comments?
Yes.
Aside? And I was remembering what I wanted to say. Oh, she couldn't speak any English at all. So how could we get along with her? I was with her a lot. My father was out working, yeah. So I didn't know Yiddish. That's, you know, Yiddish. Yiddish. That's the native Jewish language.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know it. My mother knew it. The people that come here now from Russia, they don't know Yiddish. I try to talk to them because they don't know any English. So she spoke to me in Russian, I think she did. Wait a minute. No. She knew Yiddish, I guess, yeah. So she would talk to me in Yiddish, and I would talk to her in English. As a result, I learned Yiddish, and she learned English.
Okay.
That's how she learned.
And do you know what year she was born?
My mother?
Yeah. Or do you know how old she was when she had you?
Yeah. Well, I think she came over, I think, in maybe 1908, possibly, or I'm not sure. I have some.
But how old she was? Like what year she was born?
When she died, she was 74.
And what year did she die?
1974.
She died in 1974. So she was born in 19... No, she wasn't born in 1900.
Couldn't have.
No, she couldn't have died in 1974.
Did
you know her?
No, I knew her. I don't think you were born yet. No, I think she died earlier than that. Pretty sure.
No, she was 74 years old.
But you don't know what year she died.
Well, I would have to.
I think it was in this, like the early 60s or late 50s.
I think I never knew it.
Yeah. Because that's when I was going on the boat trip and I didn't go to the funeral.
Which boat
And
trip?
I was in high school, just out of high school.
Okay, so
So
probably about 62, 63.
No, earlier. About
Anyway,
about 58.
my father spoke English.
He was born here.
He was born here.
Sam,
How did you know?
you said. And what was his name? Sam?
Sam.
Was his last name?
There was, he changed it. It was
Growlitzer?
Growlitzer.
Originally?
That family name was Growlitzer. I don't think he liked it for business practices, for work. It was too Jewish. There was a lot of discrimination against the Jewish people. So he didn't like that. And then it was changed.
You're gone?
And then Granite was too Jewish also, with the unemployment prejudice. Couldn't get to work. If you were Jewish, it was more difficult to get work. Go to the agencies. You know, I started work when I was very young. I started at 15.
So your name was Granite. You were born.
Growlitzer, then Granite.
And my brother Bernard didn't like that name. He was all worried about discrimination too, so he changed it to Grant. And my father was angry because it became Americanized. You know, it wasn't Jewish anymore.
So your maiden name is... What's your maiden name?
My maiden name.
Did you change your
Hold
name to Grant?
To Grant.
You,
Yeah.
you changed it also.
My brother wanted to change. My father was angry. He didn't want to change radically like that, you know. But it was changed so there wouldn't be any discrimination. They didn't know what religious group I was in.
So what was your original name?
What do you mean, my original?
Your maiden name?
My maiden.
On your birth certificate?
Oh, I think it was Granite.
Granite.
I think so. I have to look. I have my certificates here. I think it was. But did you hear about all of that? You know, what it was like? You know,
I imagine I knew.
the prejudices against Jewish people.
So where was he born? Your father?
Let's see. Probably in the Lower East Side too, I think. I'm not sure.
In this country?
Yeah, I think so.
And you know where?
I met his mother and his mother and father.
Do you know their names?
Oh, let me think. I never had occasion to remember that. I have to remember it, you know.
You didn't spend time with them?
Hmm?
You didn't spend time with them as a child?
Well, a little bit. I used to go visit them.
Yeah.
I used to visit them,
In the Lower East Side?
yeah, when we were young. I remember when the war ended, the First World War, and there were celebrations on the streets in Manhattan. And I remember being down there. They were celebrating with a large barrel of apples. So all the neighbors came out, and I was there. I was alone too. I was 5 years old. I remember that.
Uh-huh.
When the apple barrel and the celebration. I remember it like today, you know.
The apple barrel.
Yeah, with the apples. I don't know whether I ate an apple, but I know that we were excited because there were apples celebrating.
1917.
1970.
So is that your earliest memory?
I guess so. Maybe it was. If it was earlier, I wouldn't be sure.
Okay, so
I don't remember the Second World War being over. I was 3 years old. I don't remember anything about that.
3 years old. You remember it?
I don't remember, no.
You don't remember 3? When did you remember that? When you went to school?
Probably remember when I was 4 or so. Something.
Yeah.
So do you know where Sam came from, or where his parents came from?
I think they came. I thought it was Poland or Russia. I'm not sure. You know, if I ever heard it, I might not have.
But they emigrated.
Yes, they did. They would come. It would take weeks for them to come.
So this would have been
It was a
in the late
on the water, you know.
1800s.
Yeah. What do you mean 1800?
Well, if you were born in 1912 and your father was,
Yeah,
he would have
it
been
was
at least 30.
Yeah, probably in the late
Or 25.
1800s, yeah. I have to look in my file and see the my personal file. I have death certificates, you know.
Okay. Okay, so they ended up in the Lower East Side. Your mother came from Lithuania, and they met and then had 4 children.
5.
5 children. And then you all grew up in the same house?
Yeah. And you know, all of them are gone except me.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't like that. You know?
Hmm.
Especially when I lost Judy.
Hmm.
You know, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I've lost other people in my life, and I was very sorry, you know. But with her, oh God.
Hmm.
I always felt it should have been me, you know.
Hmm.
And I didn't get to see her a lot because she went to college in Binghamton and decided to stay on. She never came back to live in New York City.
Hmm.
And then many, many years later, she wanted me to come move up there. But I liked it so much where I was. It was senior housing. There were so many things I was involved in. I figured, well, we'll see each other, we visit, you know. We did, but it couldn't be that often, you know.
Hmm.
And as time went by, it became more difficult for her to come, and I wasn't in the best of health, so I couldn't come more often.
Hmm.
So it wasn't good. I always regret now that I did move there, you know.
Ah, really?
So that I would have seen more of her, you know.
Hmm.
But can't do it over, you know. But some of the parents do that. They move where the children are, you know.
Hmm.
Well, maybe if I hadn't lived where I am now, you know, because it was so congenial. There were activities. It was a senior housing, you know.
Here.
There were so many programs,
Hmm.
so many things,
Keep you busy.
and I liked the. I didn't know that I can get that elsewhere, you know.
Hmm.
Probably could have, but I didn't do it. So.
So you can remember your happiest memories as a child?
My happiest.
We know you had some bad memories.
Bad ones? Maybe. I don't know about that. I can't think about that. And happy memories as I mature, as an adult. But
Can you think of one? Or things you enjoyed?
with the family,
Anything.
anything. Well, I enjoyed activities like being on the street, roller skating, doing things like that.
Where would you roller skate?
Where? Oh, I did. I was very forward, you know. I would do. We lived up on the third floor in a tenement building, and you can look out the window. Your parents, if you wanted to buy something, they'd throw down some money, wrap it up, and throw it down the window, and you catch it and you buy some. Anyway, so let's see what happened. What was my train of thoughts?
Roller skating.
You were asking me?
Happy memories and roller skating.
Oh yeah. So I would skate. Broke those skates were the steel skates with the ring. You had a key.
Right.
You tightened it, and that's how you did it. You know. And then I was very forward. I would skate up a hill. I lived on 98th Street.
When was this?
Manhattan, 98. We lived there earlier. And I would go up to the top of the hill and then go down.
Ah.
Practically, you didn't have to stay. And then one time, I went all the way up, and I saw a truck, and I hitched on to it. I hitched on and went up with the truck. And when the truck stopped, so I came down. But it was dangerous, and I didn't know it even. It didn't affect me, but it affected some other child that went up that way and was killed.
Right where you were? After seeing you do it?
I did it. I don't know what it was, but he was killed.
Wow.
It was dangerous, hitching on a truck, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I was very carefree. My mother didn't have time. She had little ones, you know? So I had freedom. I wasn't supervised, you know? I was on my own most of the time. I was free. And I think I grew up that way, the rest of my life that way.
Right. So is that, are you glad that you were given that freedom?
I think so. I think I do.
So you moved up to 98th Street?
Yeah, between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And I went to school, elementary school at 96th Street near the East River. We used to walk there and walk home for lunch. My mother prepared lunch, you go back. No cafeterias, nothing like that. And you just went your way. And then the Irish people lived in the 96th Street area. We lived in 98th Street. It was segregation. You know, people that wanted to do it, they weren't forced to do it. But
right.
They were mostly Jewish people living on 98, with a smattering of maybe a few others. But 96 had the Irish, and they didn't like the Jewish people. So when you had to go to school, you had to walk the area, and they would threaten you. They would fight with you. You had to be careful. And 99th Street was for the people with dark skin.
Each street was a different group.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We lived segregated areas.
And did the people mix?
Personally segregated. I mean, no one told them to. You know?
Right, they just gathered.
They wanted to.
And did everyone go to school together? Everyone went to the same school?
Yes, mostly.
And then when did you graduate?
When did I graduate? So 8 years later, I guess. And then I went to high school
Where?
for 1 year, and we needed the money, income. You know, my father was a dress operator. He made dresses. He made it for us too. You know, he worked in a factory, and what was I trying to say now?
You went to 1 year of high school.
Yeah. So I figured the family needed income. Very little earned in any way, but it helped. And I didn't care much for school either. It was a very oppressive environment. School, you couldn't open your mouth. You had to keep very quiet. Very, very strict. You know. So I didn't really like it. I liked more freedom. You know. So anyway, I dropped down. But in order to go to work, I have to learn something, a trade of some kind. So I had to go for 1 year until I was 15, 1 year business school. I didn't have to pay for it, but it was mandatory. So I went to business school and I learned how to type and to take dictation. So that was the kind of work that I did. I worked in offices doing paperwork.
So you got a job straight away? You got the job straight away?
Well, no, I didn't. In order to work, I couldn't get a job right away. So I went to some office and just filing, and I didn't like that. So I thought, well, no, first of all, I worked in a corset factory, and I had to lift these heavy bags of corsets. For a young person to do that, I had to do all the heavy work. So I decided I'd try to get the office work. So I did. It was filing. I was bored. I didn't like that at all. So I don't know. I went to the business school, and I learned, and then I was able to get work. So I went to work at 16.
Right.
That's when I started work. And I only stopped when after I stopped. I worked until I got married, and that was in 1941. And then after I got married, my husband didn't want me to work, so I stayed home for a few years, and he decided he wants to be on his own, have a little business. I didn't approve of it, but he wanted to. The business was servicing electrical equipment. So that's what he did. I even have some of the literature, the papers that he used to advertise. I still have it.
Okay.
I still have them. I brought them with me. I didn't want to discard them. I haven't used them. I'll show it to you. It was called Ellison's Oil Burner Service.
Oil burner?
Oil burner. And that was a miserable job. You know, you deal with burners. It wasn't a healthy job at all.
Right.
I remember he was always coated with dirt. He was always coated with dirt.
That's right. It wasn't a good job. Then, so finally, I think he worked in the factory making sewing. And he made, we didn't have maybe I had one dress. My mother got a dress, you know, with this on his own time. Had a sewing machine. Eventually, I'd like to sew too on a machine. So he got me a little machine for $5, regular machine, that it had a treadle.
Yeah.
With your feet, and I started sewing. And I've sewn many of my clothes I've sewn recent years.
Yes.
I stopped only, well, I don't know, maybe not too long ago. Not very recently. My machine finally didn't work and I still have it there. I bought it in 1971 and I used it for a long time. I still have the clothes I made.
Right.
They were very professional looking clothes. It turned out very well.
Could have been a
I didn't have to
clothing designer.
go out and buy clothes. I bought myself a form to try it on so that it fits properly. You know. Is this what you're interested in hearing?
Yeah.
I hope I'm not telling you extraneously things that you don't need to know.
Well, you know, you need some color.
Well, these are memories, you know.
So maybe we could look at some photos.
Recent ones or?
Whatever.
Well, I have some albums and I have a lot of recent family pictures.
Yeah.
Or do you want just my family?
I think. Well, the Grant. Oh, you mean from your? Yeah, from your family. Is that what you mean? Should we get some of the photo albums out?
Well, how are you going to photograph it?
What are these for? Just rest on because they're in.
We'll look at the photos and she'll describe
You
them.
want to look at some of them? Did you see the ones up on the shelf? The one I wore, I made my own graduation dress.
So let's go through the photos.
Well, you can show the camera the photo.
Which ones?
Just all. Okay, so that's.
And tell who it is.
Who's that?
Judy.
Judy playing guitar.
How old? About how old was she?
Very young.
15 or 16?
No, I think she was younger than that.
Really?
I don't have any. I can only guess. Maybe 12.
Really? Can we see the photo again? Yeah. About 12. Looks a bit older than India.
I like her hair.
She said looks older than India, yeah.
Oh, what's the next photograph?
Here I must have been 14.
When you graduated from high school?
No. I didn't go to, I only had 1 year in high school.
Oh,
This was elementary.
really?
I made this dress by hand.
Wow.
I had honorable mention. I sewed it all by hand. The lace, everything. I was taller then. You know how much height I lost? I was 5'3.5" when I moved here 30 years ago. I am now 4'10". I lost all that height.
Wow.
Well, you leaned over. Part of it is, you're
It's
leaning
due
over.
to my spine, the bones. Yeah.
Let's see the next picture.
It's a very nice picture of my mother and father. They weren't so old then. I think probably around 60 or so. 60. I got a picture stuck in here. Oh, it's just, there's something's written on it, but I
Let's
can't
see.
read it.
Let's see the photograph of your parents. And she was very short, right? Your mother.
Ida.
Yeah, she was short and a little on the heavy side usually.
She looks happy.
She was very heavy, I think.
The food they ate was different then.
What kind of food did they eat? What sort of food did they eat? What type of food?
Oh, well, the bread was Well, she'd make her own breads, her white breads a lot. Yeah, they didn't
Fat.
eat grain breads. They didn't have them there.
Schmaltz?
Smoke?
Schmaltz? Fat? Like chicken fat?
I don't know.
Drink it that
Anyway, the food wasn't the same that we used to have. We didn't have the variety years ago.
Huh.
We didn't have all these processed foods, the things that people eat today.
Yeah.
And I try them. I don't eat them. Do you eat processed food?
No.
I tried it. I don't like it. It's salty.
How's this one?
Oh, this is Bernard Leona. Leona was quite a girl. Yeah. I liked her very much. They were very happily married, you know that. How old were you when they died?
My father was 83. My mother must have been about 79. Let's see the picture.
They were both so slim.
Sure.
Can we see the picture? How old were they there? 30s.
20s.
They were pretty young.
No, I was born
30s
when he
maybe.
was in the 30s.
What's that?
It was
It's in
a
the
tennis
20s.
court, I think. They played tennis. I did too. I loved tennis. I played for many, many years.
Play tennis and golf.
I liked sports.
Mm.
I liked tennis, golf, bike riding. I started riding a bike at 59 and stopped at 81.
Wow.
I rode for 21 years. I loved it. It was outdoor, you know.
Mm.
I carried it in my car. I had a car, so carried it with me wherever I went. I had it in my trunk.
Mm.
Me there. I can't.
Looks
see.
like Kenny.
I
Looks
can't.
like Kenny. Yeah, this is Kenny and Judy probably. There. Isn't that Kenny?
This is Kenny and
Yeah.
Judy. Yes.
And it's
He's
Kenny.
about a year and a half older than she was. This little child. And this big.
Let's go back one here.
Some horrible pictures. Big friends.
Here's some nice ones.
This is Dick. Mm.
There.
My husband loved to take pictures. Did a lot of photographing.
Dick did all these.
And then I did it. Now I'm not interested in photography.
No, but who liked to take photos? Dick or my father?
Well, Dick liked to take them, and Judy did too. This is my father. Here, my mother.
This is your mother?
Yeah, she's here.
1946, it says. 19.
So I dated 1943. Dick was a very good-looking man.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Very handsome. And Judy's an infant. I would go down to the park, or I'd go down to watch the tennis. And this is Dick, and this is, oh, the hell. I think this is,
What's that?
I think it's Sophie's husband. What's on the back of it? Maybe I wrote
Yeah,
it.
that's Icky, as they called him.
Icky.
That's Sophie's husband.
Yeah.
Nicknamed Icky.
Where did I put? Yeah, Icky. It's a funny name.
What was his real name? I forget.
Irving, I guess.
Let's see anything. Ooh.
I haven't looked at these pictures in a long time.
So yeah, that's you and me.
It's me? Is it? Yeah, it's me. Yeah? That's Alex.
Come on.
No?
Yeah.
This is Alex.
Alex. How would he be in,
I remember that red chair.
how would he be in this picture?
I took pictures of him.
Alexander Grant, East Hampton, 3 years gone.
3 years, 1975.
And this
We
is
took you out there.
Brian.
Huh?
We took you out
This
there.
is Brian Grant, my nephew, Michelle's brother. Eddie Grant. The big panda or some kind.
Panda.
You look something like you. You know, you look something. You can see the resemblance.
All right. Enough of that. Enough of this nonsense.
What was that one?
Oh, me at the tennis court. Got me in action. I played a lot of tennis. I used to go to work, and I had a place to park my clothes, and I'd go home. We smoked those days, you know.
You used to smoke?
I don't think you smoked, Pete.
He smoked also, but I didn't. I never inhaled. I didn't know. I tried. I couldn't do it. Can you imagine that? And I smoked for over 30 years.
You never inhaled?
I couldn't. I didn't know how. I tried and I couldn't. So in a way, it was good. I didn't have any problem with my lungs, but I didn't know about that. I was frustrated. I wanted to.
Over 30 years.
You did smoke?
Yeah, I inhaled
Everybody
a lot.
is. Now you don't see it. You see on television.
Now you see people
You
smoke.
don't see people
Sometimes.
smoking anymore. No?
There are people who smoke.
You see them on TV?
No,
No, you don't see them.
no, you're not allowed to.
Maybe they don't permit it. I don't know. 1964, Judy. Yeah. 15 years ago, yeah. Me on the bicycle. I went to Atlantic City. 1962. Man, I was riding that movie. Aunt, there's an aunt of mine. There's my mother. Richard. That's Richie, my nephew. He looks something. I'll have to show him the picture sometime. Here's my sister Rose. She's
You look good now.
what?
You look healthy.
I do? Well, thank you. I'm glad that you think at least I'm healthy. Well, the doctor thinks I'm healthy even though I have this condition. But Do you know what the condition is? Spinal stenosis. You know?
Oh yeah, spinal stenosis.
You've heard about it? What did you hear?
It's a degradation of the disc,
Of what?
the lumbar. In the lumbar vertebra?
It's the spine.
Hmm.
It becomes narrow, and it presses on nerves, and it affects. You get the pain. It affects your bodily functions. It causes. Can I make some coffee for you?
Ida,
Are
Sam,
you still there?
Yeah.
this
Why
is
are you
B,
so nice? Why didn't you come
it's her
in?
husband. This is
You
me,
don't have to sit out there.
No, I'm right here.
this is
Would
Kenny,
you rather sit there?
You
this
want
is
coffee?
Susan, I
I don't
think,
know. I'm asking if they want.
it's Zelda.
I'm okay.
We have some.
And this is the
cake,
marriage of
either
Lou
tea or
and
coffee.
Helen. This is B's brother, Lou. This is Icky. This is B's sister, Sophie, the younger. My parents.
What year is this?
This is B's sister, Rose. This is, you know, when Sophie and Lou got married. I don't know what year it was. Well, I can see that I was about 8 years old, 9 years old. So
Oh,
it must have been
1950.
About 1950, yeah.
Lou and Sophie. I remember they lived in where? Sacramento.
So B was 40. No, that's my uncle Lionel. That's on my mother's side, my mother's brother.
Oh, this is Lou, right?
Yeah, he was my father's accountant.
Lionel was?
No, Lou. You must have met him when he
Oh
came
yeah, I
up
met
there.
Lou, of course. He died recently.
Died
What
when
you're looking at, just turn it for a minute. Oh, that's the group picture,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
it's about 1950.
wow.
About that.
That's around 104, 105,
130.
huh? No. Do you ever hear of any people living that long? Not many.
Not many people live to 102,
I
B.
figure, I think maybe 1 year more. I don't expect. I don't expect it's gonna go on more. You know? That's a big figure now.
Right. So what are your secrets to living so long?
I don't know.
You don't know the secrets?
Oh, well, only what I've been doing, that's all.
Yeah, so what have you been doing?
Well, I led a very physically active life in sports. I was a social person.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed doing different things, you know, read a lot. I was always interested in learning and learning different things. And socializing a lot. And in later years, I learned how to, because there was so much good food around, we didn't eat those foods. We didn't have them, or we didn't eat them. But today you can get good food. And my diet is very good. I know that.
So what's the basis of your diet? Like,
Well, I don't eat any more meat. I lost interest in it. Not because the health reasons, I didn't like it anymore. So I stopped that. I started eating bread, grain breads, or I make them myself. You know, most of the time I made it. I won't eat processed foods anymore. I tried eating them, I didn't like them. They were salty, so I stopped. I didn't have much of it because I found out right away I didn't like it. So I stopped. I didn't eat many vegetables and they weren't available even. But many years there had been vegetables. And I do all my own cooking here. Even when I was working, I would cook anyway. The only time I ate out was I had to go to lunch when I worked. I would eat a sandwich.
uh-huh.
And I ate junk. I eat bacon, tomatoes. I don't eat any of that stuff. It's a wholesome diet.
And what do you drink?
Well, drinking. Well, I use a lot of juice, and I try to drink coffee that isn't. I used to drink strong coffee, black coffee, without sugar. I stopped sugar because, and I found that I shouldn't be having salt or blood pressure problems. So I don't cook with salt. If I need it, I'll add a little bit, but I don't cook with it. And sugar, I don't like anything too sweet. I add water to the juices because they're too sweet for me. So my diet is good, and I think that's one of the positives.
And do you take any supplements or vitamins or?
Yeah, I only take for the bones, which I need. They're not. I have osteoporosis. The bones are weak. I take calcium powder form or foods that have it.
For vitamins?
And vitamin 12, B12 sometimes, but that's about.
And are you on any medications?
Medications, very few. I'm anxious because of the condition I have. It makes me feel anxious, you know.
Yeah.
So I take a medication to relieve the anxiety. So I take one a day, one a day. I don't know if it's helping it much more or now, but it was very helpful. And I take for blood pressure. Although I don't seem to have elevated pressure the way I did. It used to be very high, but now it's not that way. And I like fish. So my food diet is a good one.
Right.
And I don't know, there are so many obese people. I don't know why they're so heavy. They're extremely heavy, not just a little overweight.
Yeah.
They're heavy. They look like some of them look like 250, 300 pounds, even more. I wonder how do they manage to get around that kind of way? How do they live that way? I'm surprised that they're alive. It's awful to carry that much weight.
Yeah. And there's no reason for it.
No. But
Yeah, I used to come for the parties and get a ride home on my bike.
I used to come and I used to throw stuff off the roof.
I never saw you there.
I was there.
That often, you know.
We had fun with Alex. We took him on a rowboat ride in Central Park. Do you remember that?
The rowboat ride. When you left me on the island.
Yeah.
That traumatized me.
Did it really?
And when you left me in the room in St. Thomas.
I forget that. That wasn't our fault.
We were in St. Thomas on a family trip.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep, so they left me in the hotel room and went out to dinner.
It wasn't a hotel room. It was a private.
So I woke up and there was no one there, and I started crying.
Well, we tried.
You were young.
About 6. We tried waking him up, and we had to have dinner, you know, and we figured he'd sleep through the night, so we left. Then what? Was old enough to call my mother.
So I called his mother and said that they left me. And I was sad, like I was